Hey there guys, okay, we're talking about the Milwaukee 8-inch metal cutting circular saw today. Just picked this up a couple of weeks ago. I've probably done about 100 cuts with it so far on some 3-inch right here metal tubing for a project I'm working on right here in my garage. Um, I bought it because I wanted kind of a portable saw that would make clean cuts, cool cuts. Um, no sparks, which is nice. So that's probably the biggest thing about it. It's just there's no sparks. It's clean. The cuts are cool when you're done. So it's definitely a lot better than a grinder, and I think it's a lot better than a abrasive wheel chop saw. Just because with the chop saw, I find a lot of times when you're cutting like this 3-inch tubing in different sizes, similar to this, like 3-inch, it tries to wander on you. This thing pretty much cuts right where you put it, and it does a really nice job. And it really all depends on how well you hold the saw, and if you're using like a speed square beside it, something like that, you can do really nice cuts. I mean, that's an example cut right there. That's no finishing. That's what it leaves. There's like no burr at all. Super clean around the edges, and that little chip there is literally just from me not holding the circular saw straight. But if you're able to hold it very straight with your speed square, and I've gotten a lot better at doing it, it cuts like perfect. So the next purchase will definitely be a carbide blade chop saw because of how well this one works. But this one's a lot more portable. You can cut stuff right as you're working on it. Yeah, out in the field, that type of thing. The thing with the chop saw is you have to have everything laid out. You have to have a bench, all that. This is just like your wood cutting circular saw. It's super handy. And it does a really nice job. So this is the Milwaukee 6370-20, 13 amp, 8-inch. It doesn't cut 8-inch, got an 8-inch blade though. So it comes with the 8-inch carbide metal cutting blade. And like I said, I've made about 100 cuts with this so far, and it's like pretty much exactly brand new. So no decrease in cut quality as far as I can tell, so that's pretty awesome. It's a little different than normal, like a wood cutting circular saw. As you can see, it's got this big guard here, and what that does is it protects you from all the shavings and flying debris. It also collects a lot of the debris. So this little window here tells you when it's full, but a lot of the little shavings end up in this little catch thing here, and these are the shavings. They're just small. Some are sharp, but for the most part, they're not sharp. Like you can pick them up and you don't have to worry about them getting stuck in your skin and all that. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, this catches all those. It's got all these blade guards and things, and so it's super safe to use. I mean, it is still a circular saw. It's got a blade sticking out the bottom. You have to be mindful, but because it's cutting steel, they've really put a lot of protective devices on it. So this just clips onto here, like that, and then you put this little latch here. So the only thing you got to keep in mind with this, the way it's different from a normal wood cutting circular saw is when you lay it on a piece to cut, you can't actually see the blade anywhere. I mean, you guys can probably see it right there, but when I'm holding it like this, I can't actually see where the blade is. And a lot of guys, or me at least, when I'm cutting wood, it's nice to see the blade, obviously, because that's exactly what you're cutting. So I was a little worried about that, but this thing is very well made in that these marks are exactly where the blade is. So what I do is, if let's say I'm cutting this piece of pipe here, I'll scribe it, or I'll chalk something to mark the piece, and then I'll put my saw set up on it, just almost touching the blade, and then I'll put a speed square here. So for example, like this, just like a normal circular saw, I'll put my speed square there, and I'll follow the speed square, and I'll just make sure the line on the saw is lined up with the line on the piece, whether it's to the right or to the left, depending on what side of the line you want to cut on. And it is on it every time. And after 100 cuts, it hasn't moved, it hasn't wandered. And as long as you keep the saw straight this way, you'll have a perfectly straight cut all the way down. And it's great. So that was my one concern about it, not being able to see the blade, but it's no big deal. Normally with a skill saw, you would move the guard out of the way like this. This one's just got a little hand operated thing right here, so when you push that, it moves that out of the way. 2.5-inch cutting depth. It sticks down 2 9/16, but realistically it's a 2.5-inch max cutting depth. And it when I'm cutting this 3-inch square tubing, it goes through it like it's not even there. So it's just like you're cutting wood. It's very impressive. Because of the case, in the case is just a manual and a Allen key for changing the blade. It is adjustable in height, so just like a normal skill saw or a circular saw, you just go like that, change the depth of cut. You can put in like a rip guide in here. It doesn't come with one, but it's got the screw hole, and I'm sure you can buy a rip guide from Milwaukee or even use one from another saw to slide into there if you need to cut strips of something. It's got this cool little mark here, tells you front of blade. So again, because you can't see the blade, it tells you right where the blade would start on your piece of material. So that's kind of handy. It's got your standard inch marks there. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's super powerful. So like really the difference between this and a circular saw, a normal one, is that it's got a more powerful motor, but lower RPMs. So that's what allows you to cut through steel. Pretty good length of cord, quality cord. I don't know exactly how long it is. I want to say it's probably 10 feet. So nice length, and it's cool that it comes with the case. So enough chit chat. That's pretty much, it is what it is. If you got questions about it, you can just put them in the comments. But I'm going to cut some stuff, show you how I cut stuff. And yeah, just so you can kind of see it in action. It's not super loud. It's about as loud as a normal circular saw, I would say, even though it's cutting steel. But yeah, you want ear protection, eye protection, obviously. But yeah, let's do some cuts, and you guys can judge for yourself. Okay, we're gonna cut this piece of 1-inch square tubing. This 3/4 rod's a little more heavy duty. So after cutting, 48 pieces of this 3/4 inch rod, I did notice finally the blade starting to slow down a bit. And that's probably my own fault, because the way I had it set up, cutting 6 pieces at a time, it's like I was cutting 3/4 inch plate, and I think I might have pushed it a little bit too hard, and it got a little hot, so dulled the blade a little bit. It can only take so much, but I'm still pretty happy with the saw. I mean, I don't think I'll ever push it to its limits like that again, but it was cool for the video, and I got the job done. Just at the last 6 there, where there was a bit of a push to get through, but I just cut those 2 pieces of 1 inch square tubing off there just to see how bad it was, and it's definitely slower than when it was new, about, I don't know, 150 cuts ago now, on different size material. But I'm still going to use this blade for probably quite a while, but I'm going to go pick up a new one today just so I have it in the shop. So yeah, hopefully that helped people out, seeing it in action, things like that. I wouldn't recommend going over 1/2 inch plate with it unless you absolutely have to. So good for tubing, good for plate, all those types of things, and just like any tool, it has its limits. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you on the next video.